What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Just Like Smith channel. In today's video, we are going to be re-gearing the rear end of the truck. We're going to be doing the front axle here in a couple of weeks, or in a week or two. But we're currently waiting on some help because this is a very hard job, so you definitely want to grab an extra hand. So my buddy Devin is coming over, and we're going to try to get this knocked out in 2 days. So we're just working on it in the evening times after work, 2 days in a row, and hopefully we get it knocked out. I did rebuild these axles, but I didn't have to do any re-gearing, so I reused the shims and stuff and double checked the pattern before I put it back together. So this will be new to me. I've never re-geared a rear axle, so this will be a how-to video, but I'm not going to say that everything in it will be 100% accurate. I do my own research on everything that I do. I have things that I'll still have to learn even after I do this, whether it holds up or whether it doesn't. But we are going to make sure everything is perfectly correct with a good pattern before the differential cover goes back on and we actually put miles on the vehicle. So we shouldn't have anything to worry about. We're going to take our time with this and we're going to learn as we go. And I think this will be a really, really cool experience because I've always wanted to try this, but I've never had the nerve to go ahead and do it. But huge shout out to one of our sponsors here on the YouTube channel, Yukon Gear and Axle. So Yukon Gear and Axle sent out their master kit, their master install kit from USA Standard, Yukon Gear and Axle. It comes with a differential cover gasket, which I really, really like, because before I had to just do like some gasket maker around that, so that'll be pretty cool. Then we have all new carrier bearings, pinion bearings. We've got all of our shims right here, a new pinion seal, a new pinion nut, and a new crush washer, and new bolts for the ring gear. So we've got our 373 gear ratio. I'm pretty sure this truck has 513s in it from the calculations that I've done. It's either 488 or 513s. So go ahead and comment below, guys, what you think it is. Because from some of the calculators that I'd done, it all calculated out to being 70 miles an hour with the transmission ratio, and the gear ratio at 513 was being around 2,500 RPMs, and that's what it was at 70 miles an hour. So I'm pretty sure we got 513s, but it may be 488s. We'll have to count the teeth and stuff whenever we get it apart. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. I'm going to go ahead and take off the wheels and the wheel spacers and go ahead and pull the axle shafts out. Super easy, super simple. I have a full rear axle teardown video if you want to watch that, but I'm going to go ahead and get this tore down, and then whenever we start reassembling stuff, or whenever we start looking at stuff and there's some stuff that I need to explain to you guys, then I'll check back in with you. But right now we're going to go ahead and get these wheels off, get the carrier out, get the ring and pinion out, and get the carrier on the bench to go ahead and swap the ring gear and the bearings. So we'll go ahead and get those carrier bearings off and get those replaced using a shop press, which I'll show you how to do in this video. So let's go ahead and get this thing tore down. All right, guys, so as you can see, this is the internal pinion bearing race, and it was right there. Of course, it was driven in flush. When we pulled this out, there were no shims or anything in behind it. So that's how we're gonna start, by putting it back together. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around and around on this with a Dremel, but not changing the depth any, just changing the outside diameter. So then I can drop this race in with a shim behind it and change the pinion depth. But what I done was just took a chisel and a hammer and came through like this on the back side, and there's two little openings. There's an opening right here and an opening right here, and I just hit down here a little bit, hit down here a little bit, hit down here, just went back and forth until I got this baby out. And yes, it took probably about 5-10 minutes. It was in there pretty good. And now I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm going to take a air hammer and I'm gonna drive out the other side. So there's one bearing race on each side of this axle. On the back side of the axle housing where the pinion stud sticks out where the drive shaft mounts, there's another race, and as you can see, this little flat spot right here, and then there's one straight across from it that you can't really see. But I'm gonna take my impact gun, but I'm gonna take this air hammer with a chisel tip and drive this out. So right there is the bearing race, as Devin picks it up. Alright, and right here is the other race that we just now drove out with an impact, with the air chisel. I keep on saying impact gun, but I mean air chisel. And there was no shim on that side either. So that's gonna go back together without a shim on that side anyway. And so at the end of the pinion, this drops down in there, and then right here is your pinion bearing casing for the bottom bearing. So then it's like that once it's fully put together. Just like myself, please follow along.
I just quit. I just turned the video on. My new 2006 F250. Just put a leveling kit on it.
Alright guys, so we have the carrier out. I am going to go ahead and swap this ring gear. The truck did end up having 488s in it, not 513s. So the reason I thought it was 513s is because I used a calculator online. And yeah, so I guess I was wrong. But anyway, it has 488s. I knew that the pinion was 8 teeth, I think, and 488 and 513 both have 8 teeth. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and zip all these bolts out, and don't damage this. This is the like the piece that is for your speedometer. It's like a speedometer ring or whatever. I don't know the technical terminology, but that's what it's for. I'm going to go ahead and zip this off and swap this out. Dispose of these. I don't think that you're supposed to reuse them, so they do send you new ones. So now that we've got that, all the bolts removed, we're going to take a 2x4 and hit on this so we don't damage this ring gear, because this ring gear is perfectly good to be sold with the pinion gear. And I already have that sold, guys. So if y'all are interested in those 488 gears, you can DM me on Instagram. The buyer thought that they were 513, so I'm going to have to reach out to him and make sure that he still wants them if they are 488s. But if you are interested in buying the 488 gears from me, front and rear, so I will do $300 for front and rear. So $300 plus shipping if the first buyer falls through. So if you're watching this and you're interested in these, just DM me on Instagram and see if I still have them. All right, so we just now got that off. It literally took like 20 seconds. I just kept spinning it around and around, hitting on it right here with a hammer and a microfiber. All right, guys, so as you can see, I have gotten one of the carrier bearings off, and now I'm going to explain how I done that. So you're going to cut a slit right here and right here, and then that's going to remove this outer bearing housing. After you remove that outer bearing housing, then you're going to cut a slit in the race without going all the way through, and it will literally crack from how it's under so much pressure. It will crack from how it's under so much pressure. I just used a Dremel, and as you can see, it's not cut all the way through, but it cracked all the way through. So you just cut that deep enough to where it will crack. Did you get that? Did y'all hear that big loud popping noise? That was that thing literally cracking. So now it'll come off pretty easy. And then we'll be ready to press on the new carrier bearings.
I really hope he puts that in. I don't like this position.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so much better. We've got her all jigged up in the shop press. We have one socket driving all of this on. Make sure you wear safety glasses whenever you do this. You want all of this to be nice and flush.
Definitely wear safety
and be
glasses.
pressing on evenly. Yeah, you've got your safety glasses on, right?
Yeah.
So now this will go all the way down and bottom out. And this is the easiest way to do this, is with a shop press. All right guys, so this is how I have the pinion gear jigged up to press on the pinion gear. You don't want to press this on with this part flush, because it would obviously bend it and warp the actual housing that carries the bearings. So what I used was just some of this little bitty steel stock. I think this is 1/4 inch maybe. And I cut I cut 3 pieces, or no, just 2 pieces, and set them in there, and then use the hydraulic press to push this on here. But I know it doesn't look like it's bottomed out, but it is bottomed out. All right guys, so this is what I meant. You just want something that will space it off of the jack, because that bearing housing that actually presses down on there, it isn't protruding, it's actually recessed up in there. So that's how you get it to press on there all the way. All right guys, so just to recap everything that's happened so far, we've got everything completely disassembled. So I did have to take the drive shaft off, the wheels off, the axle shafts, then the carrier, the 4 bolts that hold the carrier in, pull the carrier out. I'm gonna mock those shims that were on the right and left side, just to kind of go ahead and write that down and see what thickness we had before. But one thing that I'm not really sure of is the ring gear that came out of it is thicker than the ring gear that that's going back in. So I'm not really sure if that's just because of like the difference in teeth, or if this is maybe some kind of rear end that takes like a thicker ring gear. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that it's just because of the difference in teeth. So I'm going to research that, and we're going to pick this video back up tomorrow to install hopefully the races. So once we get the races installed, the backside race I think is the one that we're going to be putting shims in. So I'm going to ground the race that we beat out. The actual thickness of it, not the depth of it, but the diameter, to where that slides in and out really easily. So then we can take that race in and out without destroying the new race. So we're gonna have that old race to work with kind of as like a dummy race. And then we'll put shims in behind it to set the pinion depth. After we set the pinion depth, then we'll work on the backlash and stuff like that, and moving the actual ring gear left to right. But I want to check on that and pick this video back up tomorrow. So thank you all for watching this video. Be looking out for part 2. It will be coming later this week, of actually setting up the backlash and the pinion depth and the the carrier bearing pressure and all of that stuff. So we're gonna try to do this as right as possible. Be looking for another detailed video coming later this week. And with that being said, guys, always remember, everybody starts out as nobody. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.